Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance, and it's time for me to have another rant against the wheeled vehicles. Yes, I really do hate these things. I love the skin that's been produced by Jazz, but I'm afraid, yeah, the vehicle, I don't want them into the game anymore. I think they've been put in to ruin the game, and this is SlyMeerkat and his AMD 178B about to ruin somebody else's game. Battle started. Well, with the news that Wargaming are limiting the number of Arty that can be put into any battle, I finally realised, yes, they are determined to remove Arty from the games one way or the other. And of course, the upshot of actually reducing the number of Arty per battle should have been that there would be no battles with zero Arty. Because after all, there's so many Arty players. If you take all the Arty and limit the number you come per battle, then I'm afraid that what will happen is that in order to keep the game waiting times up to scratch, you would have to put at least one Arty in every game. So there'd be no games at all with no Arty. And the unfortunate thing is that Wargaming have decided the opposite. What they're going to do instead is try and limit the number of games that Arty can enter and then make them wait so that they can have plenty of games with zero Arty, but Arty will be waiting for a long time before they get a battle, just as they have to in Frontline. And in Frontline they have to wait a long time simply because so many people want to play Arty, because if you're an Arty player you can generate extra credits in Frontline. And that's because the mechanics of Frontline actually work in the favour of Arty. Now that's Wargaming's fault that they did that. But you can see here now that at this moment, Sly, who happens to be a rather good player, is actually ruining this game for most of the enemy tanks on the other side. Because they can't get round the corner. So they can't kill him. One's come up behind him, this VK3601, but he's going to run rings around it, and he's just plugging it full of holes. Now, would that really have happened to a German heavy tank during the wars? No. The AMD 178B never actually existed because it was a project that was cancelled before France was fell during 1940. But you see, this VK completely outmastered. That was a German heavy tank, completely outmastered, partially by SlyMeerkat's skill, but also by a vehicle which is totally broken. It's so OP, it's unbelievable that it can take out a heavy tank with a light wheeled vehicle. Yes, I do know there are some pretty good players who know how to use these machines. They earn a lot and they do rather well, but the fact of the matter is it's a broken vehicle, and so long as you have a broken vehicle like this, you're going to destroy the game. How many people would have believed that a light tank would take out a heavy tank like that unless it was a really good player? Well, so far Sly's managed to get 2 kills, but it looks like they're going to win this battle anyway because they've got 9 kills against the 6 from the enemy. The enemy are being completely outclassed. Well, their T-52, which is their OP light tank, just went up, taken out by a Type 64. And now Sly is having a look. Oh, he's found somebody. He's found an OP medium tank. A Russian one, would you believe it? And now he's starting to pump rounds into that thing. Now, if Wargaming keeps doing this to the game won't be around for very much longer. I know a lot of people have said, oh, with the declining numbers of players, that eventually it will get to the point where people just won't bother to play World of Tanks anymore. They'll say it's a broken game, it doesn't work, it's not realistic. Well, you can't have a great degree of realism in a map so small with vehicles that act as the way they do. But if Wargaming keep adding new vehicles to a game like this, and you see a T-3485, which is quite a powerful tank like that, outmatched by a tiny little vehicle that never even existed, then really, Wargaming, are you really being credible? No, of course you're not. Well, that T-3485 didn't last long because an Easy 8 just finished him off. And now there's only one tank left on the enemy team. It's a Skoda T-25, another tank that never existed, who's just dived off a cliff and died. Well, it's another player who's dissatisfied so much in the game, he's decided to end it early. And that's why people are leaving the game. Now, well, end of battle results, and I'm sure Sly didn't expect to see me rant about wheeled vehicles throughout this entire battle, but I'm going to. He managed to get an ace tanker and a high caliber out of that game, but that's because he's a very good player. That aside, the fact is, this is a broken vehicle. Just look at the amount of damage it did during that game. 2,297 hit points of damage. Next highest scoring was the Skoda T40, another tank that didn't exist. 1,763 to him. And the highest scoring tank on the enemy team was, in fact, the Sherman Jumbo, who did 1,376. Now, that tank did exist, as did that one as well. So it's surprising that tanks that did exist did poorly, and tanks that didn't exist actually did rather well. In fact, actually, the only tank out of that lot that did exist, technically speaking, were the Type 64, which was basically a Hellcat and a anti-aircraft vehicle married together, and of course the heavy tank number 6, which actually was shipped to Japan, but of course the Japanese never actually got around to producing them en masse, simply because they lacked the steel, and it was just too late in the war for them to do anything about it. They'd already effectively lost the game. But yes, it just goes to show how broken this game is when tanks that don't exist do so well. And of course, Wargaming just sit there laughing, raking in the profits. Well, you won't be raking in the profits for much longer if you keep destroying the game this way. And of course, it is being destroyed. Player numbers are dropping, and Wargaming have thought, well, how will we keep players in the game? Well, we'll invent more tanks that didn't exist, like tanks with twin barrels. Oh yes, or a tank with an autoloader that never really had an autoloader in real life, but we'll put one in it anyway and make it so OP that nobody can kill it. Yes, well, this is where you think to yourself, well, why are these people trying to do this? Why? Is it in the sake of the great dollar that they're after so much money that they are willing to invent new games? Well, if I wanted a fantasy game, I would go play League of Legends or something else. I wouldn't be playing World of Tanks. If I wanted realism, I'd be wanting a game that actually tried to make the game realistic, like War Thunder. And I think that's why a lot of players are now starting to download War Thunder, because they're fed up with Wargaming's attempts to cut Arty out of the game and putting things like wheeled vehicles into the game to do it. I am going to keep ranting, and I'm going to keep ranting in this game until Wargaming actually takes note of it and says, okay, right, we've screwed up. We have screwed up in a big way, and they are screwing up. And if they keep doing it this way, this game won't be around for very much longer. It will be an X game. It will cease to be. It will be 6 feet under, pushing up the daisies. It will have joined the choir eternal of other games like Pac-Man that have long since been put into game heaven and are no longer played by, well, anyone except those people who have really old computers and want to nostalgize on games that they used to play when they were kids. Wargaming, get a grip. You are losing this game, and you are losing it because you're doing stupid things. Rant over.